Good morning, students. This is third part of chapter 4, the Mughal Empire. In this part, we will study about Emperor Jahangir, Emperors Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. Now let us study about Jahangir. Jahangir was the eldest son of Akbar. Jahangir's name was Prince Salim. He assumed the title or the name of Jahangir. He ascended the throne of Delhi as the fourth Mughal ruler. The son of Jahangir was Khusrau. He was rebellious. Rebellious means disobedient or engaged in opposition. It was always a task for Jahangir to control his rebellious son. When Jahangir came to know that the fifth Sikh Guru Arjan Dev had helped Khusrau in his rebellion, Jahangir got furious. Getting furious, he imposed a fine on the Guru Arjan Dev. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir demanded a fine of 2 lakh rupees and demanded that Guru Arjan Dev erase some of the hymns in the text. The Guru refused to remove the line and to pay the fine. On this, furious Jahangir executed Guru Arjan Dev. Executed means marked his death sentence. This execution of the fifth Guru Arjan Dev sparked off a long and bitter struggle between the Sikhs and the Mughals. They become the rivals. Foreign influences and interactions with Jahangir. During the reign of Jahangir, a number of Europeans like the Portuguese, the British and the Dutch has begun to make their presence felt in India. In 1608, Captain William Hawkins arrived at Surat. Hawkins could talk to Jahangir in Turkey. William Hawkins had earned his goodwill and stayed at court for 3 years as Mansabdar. He came to Surat with a letter from King James I. Requesting permission to trade with India. Well, after few years in 1614 CE, King James I sent Sir Thomas Roe. He stayed till 1618 CE. Though Thomas Roe did not succeed in getting a formal treaty signed, treaty means an agreement, Thomas Roe received liberal trade concessions for the Britain. The Britishers were allowed to set up a factory at Surat. It was Sir Thomas Roe who laid the first foundation for the British East India Company in India. Well, after few years in 1614 CE, King James I sent Sir Thomas Roe. He stayed till 1618 CE. Though Thomas Roe did not succeed in getting a formal treaty signed, treaty means agreement, Thomas Roe received liberal trade concessions from the British. The Britishers were allowed to set up a factory at Surat. It was Sir Thomas Roe who laid the foundation for the first British East India Company's rule in India. Noor Jahan. In between all this, Jahangir got married. He married the widow of Sher Afghan Jagirdar of Bengal. Jahangir made her his chief queen and given her the title of Noor Jahan. Noor Jahan means the light of the world. Noor Jahan had acquired tremendous power and influence over the king. She exerted her authority in all the matters of administration. She even appointed her relatives and favorites to high positions. He had even issued royal coins in her name and firmans or orders. Many gold and silver coins were issued. Some of them had the images of only Jahangir and many with images of his wife Noor Jahan. About the last days of Jahangir. Emperor Jahangir wrote his autobiography called Tuzaki Jahangiri. He constructed a mausoleum for Akbar at Sikandra. Mausoleum in Hindi means Samadhi. In 1622, his health declined and as usual the war of succession began. Emperor Jahangir had 3 sons. The one who emerged as the next ruler was Shah Jahan. Yes, the famous Shah Jahan. So let us now read about Shah Jahan. The original name of Shah Jahan was Prince Khurram. He ascended the throne and took the title of Shahabuddin Muhammad Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan married to Noor Jahan's niece named Mumtaz Mahal. Shah Jahan led successful military campaigns against Mewar, Kangra, and Deccan kingdoms. He sent his son Aurangzeb to subdue the ruler of Bundelkhand at Orcha. Shah Jahan then went to Bengal to put down the growing power of the Portuguese. The Portuguese were carrying out illegal trading. It was believed that they forcibly convert people to Christianity. More than 10,000 Portuguese were killed and many imprisoned. Out Then there was an outbreak of famine and plague in the Deccan, Gujarat, and Khandesh. Famine means extreme scarcity of food, and plague means a contagious bacterial disease characterized by fever. Shah Jahan made extensive arrangements to help reduce the sufferings of the people. Architecture. Shah Jahan was a master builder. When his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal died in 1631 CE, Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is one of the wonders of the world even today. A more detailed study about the architecture of Shah Jahan will be taken up later. Administration of Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan restored the Mansabdari system started by Akbar. It was a system which consists of a hierarchy of ranks or offices. We have discussed this system in our previous video of Akbar. During Jahangir reign, this system had fallen into misuse, but Shah Jahan restored the Mansabdari system. European visitors. Various French and Italian travelers visited the court of Shah Jahan and they have left vivid description about his rule. Vivid means bright and intensely deep. The end of Shah Jahan's rule. Shah Jahan fell seriously ill. His four sons battled for the right to succeed their father. Aurangzeb emerged the winner. The Agra fort with all its treasures was surrendered to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb made his father a prisoner for life. Shah Jahan then died at the age of 74 in 1666 CE. After that, the reign of Aurangzeb started. Aurangzeb was the third son of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal. Aurangzeb had the biggest empire anyone had ever ruled in India. On the left, there is a map which shows the Mughal Empire at the end of 17th century CE. The orange portion represents the boundaries of Mughal Empire during the reign of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb had ruled for 50 long years. During his rule, he was almost always at war with one or the other ruler. Aurangzeb spent the first half of his 50-year reign in the northern territory and the second half trying to annex the Deccan. During his tenure, Aurangzeb adopted various policies. These policies proved his undoing. Undoing means it proved downfall for Aurangzeb. The various policies are religious policies, Rajput policies, Deccan policies. Let us discuss each of these. Religious policy. Aurangzeb firmly believed that it was his duty to strengthen Islam in his empire. So he discontinued the policy of religious tolerance followed by earlier Mughal rulers. He reimposed the tax on non-Muslims known as Jaiza. His policies led to many uprisings in Delhi, Gujarat and Burhanpur. Rajput policy. Knowing how independent the Rajputs were, Akbar had always been careful not to antagonize them. But after a brief period when he tried to maintain good relations with them, Aurangzeb tried to annex their kingdoms and waged several battles against them. As a result, Aurangzeb lost the loyalty and support of Rajputs. Even Aurangzeb lost money, time and many of his generals in war against Rajputs. Deccan policy. Aurangzeb spent 26 years of his life and reign in Deccan, which he could not ignore. This brought him into direct confrontation with the rising powers of the Marathas. Aurangzeb won the kingdoms of Bijapur and Golconda, but his victories come at a steep cost, as Aurangzeb suffered heavy loss of soldiers and money. The execution of the ninth Sikh Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur by Aurangzeb made the peace-loving Sikhs take up arms. Under the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, the Sikh fought bitterly against Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's character or his decline. Aurangzeb always followed the laws and traditions prescribed to Muslims. He did not indulge in anything which is prohibited in Quran. Ritual practices like prayers and fasting were strictly followed. But however, Aurangzeb was also said to be suspicious in nature, cunning, and cold in temperature. His ability as general declined in the later years. After Aurangzeb, a succession of weak Mughals ruled Delhi when the British Company overtook over India. Together, after Aurangzeb, the Mughals were known as later Mughals. Let us now read the glossary to understand the various terms used in the chapter. First one is Mughal. Mughal is a Persian word used for Mongols. Then artillery. Artillery is a branch of army who use heavy guns. Cavalry. Cavalry are the soldiers on horseback. Muskets. Muskets are the soldiers' light gun. Confederacy. Confederacy means union. Rupiah. Rupiah means silver rupee. Mansab. Mansab is a rank in Arabic. Savar. Savar is a new gradation defining the number of cavalry maintained. Jizya. Jizya was a tax on non-Muslim. Diniyai. Diniyai was a religion founded by Emperor Akbar, which means divine faith. Let us quickly recap the chapter in brief. Then, first one, Babur was invited by Rana Sanga, king of Mewar, and Daulat Khan Lodi, the governor of Punjab. Babur was the ruler of Kabul, who invaded India and defeated Ibrahim Lodi and founded Mughal rule in India. Second one, after Babur's death, his son Humayun ascended the throne and annexed Gujarat, parts of Rajasthan and Bihar, but he was defeated in the Battle of Chausa by Sher Khan, the governor of Bihar. Sher Khan assumed the title of Sher Shah and ruled the Mughal Empire for 5 years. After Humayun's death, his son Akbar became the emperor at a very young age. Akbar brought several reforms in civil and military administration. He followed a policy of religious tolerance. After Akbar, his son Salim ascended the throne and assumed the name Jahangir. During his rule, various European nationals started arriving in India. After Jahangir, Shah Jahan ascended the throne. He subdued the rulers of Mewar, Kangra, and Deccan. He also defeated the Portuguese in Bengal. When Shah Jahan fell ill, his third son Aurangzeb took over the empire. He extended his empire into the biggest ever in Indian history. After Aurangzeb's death in 1707, a succession of weak Mughal kings ruled till the British took over India in 1857 CE. So, this was all for today's class. We have completed our chapter. Dear students, after watching all the parts of this chapter, please read the chapter once again and try to find the answers of the exercises. In the next class, we will discuss the answers, but before that, you should try yourself to find the exercise. Have a good day.